The artistry of life is all about being the practitioner of life. It means that you view life as a participant rather than an observer. We all face the same challenges in different degrees. Learning how to properly navigate and overcome those challenges is a necessary part of becoming the ultimate being.
And something that you brought up that's really interesting just now when you talk about a person being in an abusive relationship, right? I've heard that term before, and I'm not gonna be or pretend to be naive around what's considered an abusive relationship, right? It's just a term that I've heard expressed multiple times, and I've grown to, in my understanding, right, that that when the physical abuse, right, that people subject themselves to, like, that's a very real thing. You see it happening quite often, and you kind of step back and ask the question, like, how did this situation between these two people who once professed love towards each other get to the point where they're physically harming or imposing hurt and pain, physically imposing pain on each other, right?
Yes.
One to another. So I'm not picking either side, right? And then, how does one get to that point, right? What were the signs, right? Or what were the signs and cues missed? And then psychological abuse. What are the signs of that? And what constitute, the psychological abuse, right? Like, and I get it, right? Like the way, and I would presume that it's the manner in which they speak to one another, or one partner speaks to the other partner in that relationship. So, which it's expressed as abuse because it carries a lot of negative energy and negative connotations, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
based on whatever is said. And I've grown, and we've discussed where, in a discussion or in an exchange, right, of words, like I choose to speak my piece,
Yes.
right? So, and it's not P-I-E-C-E, it's P-E-A-C-E, right? So I recognize that you can point out several of my imperfections and in the exchange, right? And I can choose to accept your perspective of my imperfections. I can choose to reject everything that you say and say, no, that's not true. But there's also, I believe, like, I can choose to acknowledge, which is like, I'm not accepting it, I'm not rejecting it, I'm acknowledging whatever you speak about my imperfections. I can acknowledge that, yes, I am imperfect, right? And thank you for, recognizing that I am imperfect, and even taking the liberty of pointing them out, right? And now I can react to everything that you said, especially if it's charged with a lot of negative energy, and emotion, or I can speak my piece, P-E-A-C-E, because I've grown and elevated enough to know that if you throw fire, I throw more fire, we're just going to create a bigger fire.
Yes.
And in the end, we're both getting burnt. So I can, if you throw fire, okay, I'm going to have to put some water on this flame, right? So I'm going to speak my piece towards whatever is thrown, which is, yes, I'm imperfect, right? I have things within myself that I am cultivating, right? Like
Yes.
I am growing, I am evolving.
Yes.
However, unfortunately, I'm not there yet, and I also have to recognize that I may never become perfect. However, I'm going to pursue, I'm always going to pursue improvement and growth, and that's my piece, generically on the situation. Now, if a person continues to attack, or continue to throw flame, at this point, I can choose to reject, right?
Yes.
I can choose to reject and say, well, and I don't have to say anything. I can just to myself like, no, I'm not going to accept any of these things, right? So that's how I've kind of found a solution to what would be considered the psychological abuse or the psychological attacks. Like, I'm not going to accept any of those things, because I've already acknowledged, right, like certain deficiencies. I've already expressed, my peace and my desire. Like, I'm working. I'm a work in progress, and I'm improving. And I've also not reciprocated in kind and saying, well, you, right? Because then that's just adding more fire to the fire. Like, because they say more fuel to the fire. No, that's my fire, right? Yeah. Like, and then so, but is it, it's not. I don't think it's an easy subject to to approach, because it takes a lot of personal development and personal growth to be able to take that position with every and anybody, right? Like, whether it's an intimate relationship or just a relationship of friendship or just a relationship of family, to recognize that, like, okay, well, how do I respond to this? Right? Respond, not react. And, that's in my practice in life, that's what I've kind of, be able to surmise so far.
No, like, the personal development part of it, man, you have to literally develop yourself to be in that space where you don't react to stuff.
Yes.
Every day, unfailingly.
Yes.
It's usually those that are close to you that try to push your buttons.
Yes.
Make you react. Like, just pushing, poking, man.
Yep.
And it does take a lot of personal development.
Yes.
A lot. Man.
Yeah, it's a good indicator that I see for me to, like, look within myself to see if something does make me feel a particular way. Then it's a good indicator for me to say, well, why does this particular phrase, subject, comment, impact me, make me feel this way, right? And then that's where I start my work, on myself. But in reciprocal, like you said, when you become and you cultivate certain qualities inside you, happiness, love, joy, excitement, inspiration, motivation, you recognize that abundance of this within yourself and exists. And then, like, personally, you don't necessarily look for these things, right? Like, you don't necessarily look for them. You don't go out looking for, like, if you have something, you don't really look for what you already have. So then, what does that turn into? I believe it turns into, it turns into, like, fulfillment, that now when you're engaging with people, family, the world, you're like, you recognize, like, man, if something makes me feel a certain way negatively, then it's like, oh, I need to feel that. I need to feel that within myself, because I shouldn't be feeling that, right? And then, and if someone says something and it doesn't make me feel a certain way, it's like, then I recognize it's not my lack, it's this other person's lack, right? It's this other it's their lack and their inability to kind of fill that, so that their frustration now gets expressed, externally and projected towards maybe me. Maybe I'm the object, that they're projecting this to, because maybe it's something that they want from me, and they don't recognize that what I have is not necessarily you know, it's not necessarily something that I can give them in abundance, right? Like I can't give you what I have in abundance. Like I have it in abundance. I can give you some, but you know, because it's abundant within me, so I can love you. I can give you some love. Oh, I can give you some happiness. Hey man, how's your day? Oh, cheer you up. But it's not my job, right? It's not my job daily to do that for you, right? Like, you know, because like my storehouses, you know, like they're overflowing, they're abundant, and I give you the extra, but like I can't empty my storehouses to fill yours up, you know, like it doesn't work that way, and I can't. Like every day you're looking to me to do these things for you, you know, which turns into the obligation. Your obligation to make me smile every day.
Oh man, that's that. You know, when you just said that, man, I just took me back to, you know, one of the relationships I was in, man, where she was like, you know, then, you know, when before we started, you know, the person development, I was going through, you know, like just. I felt like everywhere was just clouded, right? Like, man, I need to get out of this space, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to, because then we're in North Carolina. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go to Maryland to just go hang out with my friends, to just decompress, whatever it is, right? And it was just like, no, you shouldn't go. You know, I should be your source of happiness. You know, I should be your source of, you know, whoever you gotta talk to should be me, right?
Wow.
And I felt like, you know, I'm like, there's no way, man. There's just no way.
Yes.
Like, I shouldn't be your source of happiness. You shouldn't be my source of happiness, because there's just no way. But you know, but what's crazy is a lot of people think, you know, I don't know, but how do you feel? Like, you know, is this a concept of what a relationship is? Because, you know, like, you just said it, man. Like, you make me happy, you know. I should be your best friend in the way. Yeah, okay, cool, can be that. But happy, you know, joy, love, like, all those stuff, man.
Yes. That's tough, man. You know, and it's like, I make you happy. Yes, right? But I can only make you happy because I have happiness, right, within me, right? Have you ever been around a person where the energy, the vibe, like, whoa, this person's negative, right? This person just walks into the room, the energy goes down, everyone just gets quiet. It gets like, you know, and then it just becomes like a depressing scene, right?
Yes.
You know, and so people have energy within themselves that, and whatever they carry with them can affect the space, and it can affect others. So I do recognize that, like if I carry myself in a happy manner and I'm like enthusiastic and joyful towards life, I come around, I'm going to behave in a manner that my behavior, when, you know, received by my partner, makes it triggers something. It triggers the happy gene inside of them, right? Okay, cool. But I'm only able to do that because I am happy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I am happy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't make you happy if I'm coming from a sad place.
Yes.
From a depressed place, from a angry place, from a frustrated place. Like, none of those places within myself, if I come from those spaces and they impact you, they're going to make you feel exactly how I feel. So the reason why I'm able to make you happy, and people who can't see that, right? Like, I'm able to make you happy in this moment because, like, I am happy. Yeah. I'm expressing happiness. So if I can do it and express happiness and cultivate an abundance of happiness within myself, so can you. You can do this for yourself, right? And you won't. Now imagine if you're coming from a space of happiness and I'm coming from a space of happiness, and then we like, right? Like
the big bang explosion.
Yeah, man. And we've seen it in the way you and I operate. When we go into a space.
Oh yeah.
Like if whoever enters first, you enter, the energy goes up. Boom. Then the next person enter. Oh, boom. Yeah. Right. Like it goes all the way up. So I mean, it's it's evidence there. In life that you can look at and see, like, yeah, man, like the way what you carry, the state and the space that you carry yourself with and in have the potential to affect your external space, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, if someone's in a not so good space, yeah, you can temporarily, right, get their minds, distract their minds. Oh yeah, I'll talk to you. You're around me. You make me feel better. You know, but I can't be around you for 24 hours a day.
Oh, gee,
right? Like, you know,
yeah.
I can't give you my happiness for 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Like, you know,
yes.
like I have to recharge my stuff too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I like, you know, and I believe it's like, you know, if we because you know we use an expression. People use an expression, "Let your light shine." Right? Like, you know, let your light shine in dark spaces. So, like, if we're using that analogy, like, so the light that I have, instead of being able to, like, you know, contribute to the light of the world, the planet, you want my light for yourself, right? Like, you want me to only shine light on you, like spotlight. Right? You said it. I didn't.
That's
you
selfishness,
said
man.
it.
You know,
Yeah.
man. I remember I said that specifically, man. When I was like, look, man, I'm for everyone.
Yes.
Right? I don't mean in a bad way, like, oh, I'm for everyone. You know,
Yes,
out here,
yes.
you know, flirting, you know, or messing around with different girls, right? But I'm like, look, I'm for everyone, man, because I recognize the energy I carry within me,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you know, just me being in a place, man, I know how much it changes the route. You know, this is the life we live every day,
Yes.
right? So it's like, you for you to just be like, oh, you have me to yourself, it's selfishness, like you said.
Yeah.
The light is to shine in the world,
Yes.
and you know, I think maybe they gotta be saying, you my word.
Oh man. Okay. Man, yeah, I mean,
man.
I love the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, like the R&B that came out of that era, you know, even the early 80s, man, like, you know, Michael Jackson. Like, I love the R&B, man. Like, the lyrics were so intimate. They were so powerful. They were so, like, captivating. It was like, man, you know, whoever wrote the lyrics, man, in some of those songs, man, you're like, this guy really loves this woman, man. Like, really, like, exalts, right? Like, I should say, exalts this woman, like, worships this woman. Because, you know, he'll climb the highest mountain, you know, like, wow, bro. Like, you know, yeah, if it means if I got to get to the top of that mountain, I'm climbing it, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love. I'm like, man, that's a powerful way to express to your partner, like, look, man, I'm in it, man. I'm in this thing with you, you know. I don't know if it's like, you know, maybe over time people took that literal, like, hey, you love me? Well, you bet. He's climbing mountains. What are you willing to do?
Catch the airplanes or something.
What are you willing to do? Yeah, you better be willing. I'm at a distance. You better be willing to swim across this ocean.
Wow.
Like, man,
Wow.
you think I'm Aquaman?
What? You know,
like, nah, man. Like, no. You know,
will you take a bullet for me? Catch a grenade for you?